Monster Hunter Charters. And Justin, what do you want to tell us about yourself, your crew, and your charter business?
First things first, I'll tell you that we're fishermen before we're charter captains and a charter fishing business. One of the things we pride ourselves on is the fact that we actually really enjoy catching fish on a daily basis. We're out on this fishery. If it's not targeting striped bass, it will be targeting another species either locally here or at the most we travel 3 hours north to the Great Lakes, up to Lake Ontario, and target salmon and brown trout and lake trout. But locally here, when we're on the Hudson River, we're targeting the striped bass, migratory striped bass. They're coming up from Long Island and from the Chesapeake Bay. And then when we leave here, we often fish for northern pike and muskie locally in the Mohawk, which is more than 7 miles north. Apart from the striped bass in this actual river here, you have an abundance of fish. You have all catfish, channel cats, blue cats, flatheads. You have largemouth, smallmouth, perch. We have lots of northern pike. We actually get quite often stories, but we've seen many pictures, so you know we can justify the fact that the stories are true, of true bred muskellunge that have come down through the locking systems, through the canals, especially during storms. We seem to find that preceding a storm, we'll get an excessive report of them. We actually had 3 47 plus to 50-inch purebred, no stripes, no barbs, no spot muskellunge caught locally at the mouth of the Poston Kill the year after Irene, correct? Year after Irene. Not target species fishing. The gentlemen were fishing for any old fish, and they happened to get it. And the pictures were posted at the local tackle shop. So we personally, as fishermen, try and support all our local tackle shops as best we can. Some things they can't accommodate for us, so we do have to buy in bulk commercially, like most people do online. Yeah. But generally, we seriously encourage all anglers to go see your local tackle shop. We're going to find that they're going to know everything that's going on in your area. They're going to know what's the best first go-to. That in itself for us is probably one of the first places we beat the path at the start of the season. Apart from the fact we're looking for Mother Nature to tell us what we're doing, you know, local fishermen and tackle shops are probably our primary source of information.
Justin, how long have you been fishing?
Me personally, I've been fishing since I could hold a fishing pole, so I'd like to say probably about between 5 and 7 I think was the first chance I had to fish. But I really got into it. Actually, my father passed away and my uncle took me fishing, and if I'd like to guess, I'd say I was about 11 and a half, 12 years old. And from that moment on, 100% addicted. I caught many carp and bream that day. I was stream fishing in the UK, and since then I progressed to fish from shore myself constantly. I eventually got into boat fishing. We had a holiday home in a seaside town, which is what we call somewhere where you basically go and vacate small, I believe you guys call them trailers, trailer park type situation. And that was a fishing village basically, so I had the opportunity to go commercial fishing, net fishing for flat bottom fish. You know, you guys often flounder, fluke, things like that. And Dover sole was primarily our target fishing. And then I would crab fish for fun, actually at the jetties and docks as well when I was looking for fishing, you know, work on the fishing boats. And again, anytime I had like a reservoir fish for carp, it's very big in the UK. Carp fish is probably one of the biggest target species fishing that we do. And then in that aspect of fishing, you end up bumping into northern pike, and that's something that always got me excited, was the game fishing side of fishing. So once I came over here about just a little over 15 years ago now, and I got into fishing for, actually it was salmon originally. I caught a 35-pound Chinook, coho, salmon, and it blew my mind. Bar none, absolutely, well and truly ruined my perspective of fishing from then on. I could never fish for another small fish ever again. Hence the name of the company, Monster Hunter Charters. Specifically went with that name because I think really when we really started aggressively targeting pike and muskies, we came to the conclusion that we could catch a lot of 24-inch pike, like a ridiculous amount of 24-inch pike, and learned that the bigger the lures, the bigger the bait, you know, the bigger the fish you're going to catch. But with that comes a sacrifice, and the numbers are less. Big fish eat less. Fat guys don't run so far. You know, I mean, that's just how it is. That's the law of nature. Gravity holds you down. So at the end of the day, bigger fish, you know, we hunt them, we love them, we love catching them. But we're very big about fish handling skills. We try and make sure all our fish go back live. We personally don't keep any fish that we catch. On the lake, tends to kind of be a casualty of war. We get you know, a lot of big fights on the lake, 45-minute fights, hour fights. You're going to lose fish.
Exhaustion.
Yeah.
Fight themselves to death.
Fight themselves to death. So, you know, there's no shortage of people wanting that meat. It's salmon. I mean, it never goes to waste, ever. I don't think we've ever wasted a fish, ever. Ever. So, you know, especially when it comes to the salmon. But again, you know, we do lose fish here and there once in a while. You know, everybody does, and that's not, you know, not a lie, and we hate it. But generally, we practice as much fish handling techniques as we can. We wear gloves all the time for the slime. We have mini bolt cutters for the hooks. We have excessive boxes of hooks. I mean, the hooks to us are just disposable pieces of equipment. You've got to be able to cut them all off. We don't use any steel or any wire. When it comes to our leader materials, we do run it for dipsies, but when it gets to leaders, we go plastic with everything. We'll lose the fish over risking killing the fish for the tackle kind of thing. I'm not going to go after a northern pike with a steel leader. We're going to run some 80-pound mono. That way, you know, we're not going to kill the fish.
Right.
Yeah, people may say you may not get as many fish. The wire can be thinner and stuff and everything, but that's okay. We'll take that chance. So, and again, you know, we're all about trying to cut the hooks. Again, we try not to, you know, dislodge too many buried hooks. We're going to try and nip them off as best we can, and we'll stop fishing to try and spend a good half an hour, 40 minutes. We'll get that fish back. You know, it's all about the time you got to spend. You know, you can't ignore the fish's health just to get back to the rods.
So, what makes this spot special? We're in Troy near Green Island.
Right, yeah, we're actually located at the Federal Dam. It's Dam 0. It's the first lock going up towards the Erie Canal and the Hudson River estuary. From here on, it stops being an estuary and it starts becoming a locking canal system, a man-made and manned levee system. So basically, after this, the water is completely different. Here we're still tidal. You still have a slight saltwater exchange. Again, the stripers will go beyond here. As you do know, they can quite happily live in fresh water. That's been proven. And we have holdovers. But basically, because of the migratory nature of these fish, when they're chasing the herring and the herring are coming up to migrate and the stripers are coming up to migrate together, they enter the harbors of New York City and the river mouths, and you're looking at a 3-mile wide stretch of river. Apart from the fact they came from the ocean, which is obviously the ever blue ocean, it's huge, you know, and they're running around there. To be honest, I don't know the numbers, I'd say in hundreds of thousands, and then they start coming up the rivers, and as they come up the rivers narrow. As you're coming up through Kingston, you get down to about a mile wide, or a little over a mile wide. I think it's almost a mile and a half in some spots. And then, but as you come up to here, if you look to your left and to your right, I mean, we're talking about maybe a couple 100 yards, and on a slack tide, I mean, let's be fair, they're not going in 3-4 feet of water on this side, and they're not going in 3-4 feet of water this side. So you could almost say you're down to about 150 yards.
Yeah.
You know, of travelable water. Right now, our screen just loaded up. Now, as you know, it didn't look like that a little while ago. I'm sure you could bring an edited picture in. That's herring right now. That is just herring.
All herring, huh?
All herring right now, just swimming around everywhere.
Thick.
So thick. So that's basically what happens. The herring come up, they get stuck, they can't go anywhere. They do transfer through the lock. Actually, we just talked last year to I don't remember who they were exactly. They were marine biologists, and basically they were electroshocking the Mohawk River above some of the locks, and they've put in a new system in the turbines to try and defer the herrings out of the turbines, because they're traveling through and they're losing a lot of the bait. Really, there's a big active thing going on right now. We're trying to see what's going on with the herring. As you know, there's some laws being taught, or you may or may not know, but they're talking about a lot of laws coming into place with how many herring you can and cannot handle,
Mike's got a
catch,
herring here.
use.
Okay.
There you go.
We back.
Beautiful little fish.
Yeah.
And in the live well.
So,
Captain Justin, just one last question on your technique. So we're definitely catching some live herring. Any other special techniques or tips you want to share?
Yeah, basically the way we fish this area, when we fish it, is for us primarily when the live bait are here and they're active the way they are right now and they're in an abundance here, you have to be, you know, one of many but slightly different. So we tend to use the Shibiki rigs to fish for. Just, you know, the Shibiki rigs come with 7 hooks, so you just have to note that. You have to cut 2 of them off. You only have 5 hooks.
In this river?
Yeah, in this river. So ironically, they sell them with 7. I don't know if they want you to get the tickets. I'm not sure. Maybe that's a state thing. So, but you know, ultimately, we fish for the herring. Once we get enough live bait, we set the live bait on our rigs. We like to use a hook through the face and one through the back, slightly under the skin behind the dorsal fin. We make sure that the hook weight, and again, it's determined by the size of the fish. To be fair, if you have smaller fish, you'd want smaller sets of hooks, but you want the fish to be able to actively swim around in the water. We then like to fish slightly off the surface of the bottom, just slightly off the surface of the bottom, keeping the fish actively swimming at all times. If that fish is dead, it has to be exchanged. We do not use dead bait at this point in time because there is just too much live bait for the fish to eat, and then we'll take a live herring over a dead herring every time. We basically keep the bait slightly off the bottom and we keep our bait runners wide open, and we're looking for ourselves to create a shimmering effect around the boat to bring the bait balls in, as you can see, which is being very effective. They just constantly keep coming in and out. They'll keep coming underneath the boat and create balls of bait under the boat. As the stripers actively start to feed, they're going to zoom in and you know, and just try and crush the bait balls coming through and under the boat. And as you know, when they go through the bait balls, ours are going to be limited in their motion. They're held by a sliding egg sinker. The reason we use a sliding sinker is if we do get hung up, it gives us a little bit more freedom to get it out, and it doesn't lodge easily into things. And basically the fish itself can't swim that much. It can swim freely, so it looks like it's not caught up, but it is very limited in its motion, which basically means as the striper comes through the school, obviously our guy can't run as far or as fast. So by opportunity, it tends to get striked more often than the other fish. And the other thing I wanted to note about the area, just in case you wanted it, so basically when the fish come up and they start sitting up here, they don't really have anywhere to go and they want to spawn, the stripers do. So they're going to bed down in this area and they're actually going to spawn. And while they're here, they're actively feeding and spawning until they turn around, and then they start running back towards the city, chasing the herring back, which are doing the same thing. So as the water temperature climbs too warm as well, they just need to get out of here. But before then, they're all stuck here and they have nowhere else to go. They don't want to go down, they don't want to go any further up if they can help it, not by choice. This is where they want to spawn in all the shallow riprap. So.
All right, well, I'm sure we'll learn some more along on the trip and catch some big stripers. We'll have some footage of that.
Hope so.
All right, thanks.